Tom here from Warren Systems. I'm here to talk to you about UniFi wireless access points. We deploy a lot of these at our clients. They have been great. After about 250, 300 that we've installed, we've had none of them fail, which is amazing for any product, especially one that's as inexpensive as these. So these are made to compete with some of the higher end ones like Meraki and Cisco, and they came up with a different twist on it. They don't have expensive licensing fees. Matter of fact, they don't have licensing fees at all. The first thing about the UniFi is a little bit confusing when you're purchasing them, is that they need a controller. Now, in the world of Cisco, that means buying a real expensive box to make all of this network work. In the UniFi world, that's just a free piece of software that you can download for Linux, for Mac, for Windows. And it's just a software configured. These do not have a web interface on them. So you don't configure them like you do some of your standard access points. You don't open up a web interface and go into them and start setting settings. First you load the software, and then the software runs a small server that's based on Java. Then you log into a web portal that configures these. Now we're going to get in depth here in a minute in the software, but it's really nice because whether you're configuring one UniFi, two UniFi, four of them, as many as you want across the network, the software unifies them all together and makes them access one access point. So you don't have to spend time configuring lots of them. So when we do a deploy and we're putting 20 of these in a school, 30 of them through a warehouse, one controller software controls everything, to change the password, to give me signal strength. It also creates a complete seamless network. So as you pass between networks, different zones, it automatically switches to the next one. So you're streaming your YouTube, you're walking across the warehouse, no problem. It will just simply change over to the next one. Now that includes over different versions of these, which is really interesting how they've done this. This is the UniFi AC model, and this is your standard model. The AC long range has 5 gigahertz and 2.4 versus your standard one that just has 2.4 gigahertz on them. They both come with PoE injectors because these are PoE powered, have a really simple on the back way they plug in, make them easy to mount. Little spin mount on this one. The mount's slightly different on this one. Comes up and comes out like that. The PoE injector, easily mounted, so if you mount these to the wall, but you can use this on a standard PoE Ethernet switch as well to power them. But it's nice that these are included in the box. So if you want to set these up at your house and you don't want to put all the equipment in and just have one, and the coverage is amazing, this access point is great for that. You'll also notice there's a barcode on the back of each of these. If you don't want to set up the controller software, you can just grab your phone and configure them. They scan the barcode and done. And we're going to cover that software well. That's great for setting up single units. You don't get all the full features, but if you just go, I just need to use it, you just need the Wi-Fi access point set up, I just need a password and a network set up, that's it. Grab your phone, set it up, done. Makes it really simple. So like I said, we've been using a lot of these. They've just been solid. Their customer service has been good. And I said none of these have failed. We had a power brick failure. We emailed them, told them it failed. We asked for an RMA number. They said to send it back. I said, where's my... After a couple days, we sent it back to them, and they didn't reply that they had received it, but I sent another email saying, you know, when's ETA of getting it back? And that same day, they shipped it back. They never even replied to the email, but I'm happy I got it back. And so far, what I've talked to other people, the customer service has been pretty good with them for people who said they did have one for failure. The software makes these really easy to set up, really easy to use, whether you're setting up on your phone or setting up on there. And so let's get in depth with the software now.
Okay, we can start by taking a look at the UniFi Setup Wizard. The Setup Wizard on Windows is pretty straightforward. It's a little bit different for Linux because it has an installer that comes with it that loads up a database and a few other tools. It's pretty straightforward to install on Linux. If you're running Linux, figuring out how to install is not going to be too difficult. So here it is on Windows. You run through standard setup, United States, choose your time zone. We're in Eastern time zone here. You give it a network name and a security key first, and then you're going to see whether or not you want to enable guest access and set up a second network. If you want to set up more networks, you do that once you've created all the wireless in there. I skipped over the discovery part because it was already discovered, and it just lets you pick out all the devices that have been previously unconfigured that you want to adopt, as they refer to them. Then you choose the password. You choose an admin username and a password and confirm the password. This is the login for the UniFi software, not the Wi-Fi password, but the UniFi software password. And once you're done, the launcher will take you to localhost 8443 if you're running this on a local Windows machine. You can just type in the IP address, :8443, and as long as you don't have any firewall settings blocking it, you can log in with the admin username and password that you created. So the first thing you see when you log in is the dashboard. gives you your network health. Now, we are not using any other UniFi devices other than their access points, but this software actually supports hooking up more than just their Wi-Fi. It actually supports their phones, it supports their edge routers. I'm not really tested much of their equipment. I've tried the edge routers, not overly impressed with them, but I love their access points. That's what we're getting back into here. It also provides a map, which is kind of cool. It says you can use this map to place devices on it. Now you can upload schematics of different buildings and things like that, and you drag to the location. So as you put these all out through the building, you can do a location, and the option on each one with different utilities comes up, so you can locate, blink, name them, or it will also give you heat maps to determine as a placement of where you should put the devices. This is pretty neat. So you can kind of make some guesstimates over 2G, 5G devices, topology, tells you which channel it's on, what it's supporting, and determine where you want that to be, and it will determine the Wi-Fi range. Now, you upload these maps. It actually supports multiple floors. You can configure the maps and get into some of the detail on that. Pretty nice added feature on there. I mean, the accuracy is going to be limited because he does not know what's inside the walls. So if the walls contain rebar or something like that, it's going to block the Wi-Fi signal differently than standard drywall would. But at least it gives you some type of concept or idea how the coverage should look on there, and just having everything on a printable map so you can understand where all the devices are is just really handy. Here's where it lists the devices. Now you can do a locate and make these blink. I can restart the device and turn off the locate, so I don't need it to do it anymore. You can give these a name and an alias, so each one can have its own name. If you need to restart it, you can do that here to reboot each of these. It tells you which model. Like I said earlier, you can mix and match the models of the UniFi access points throughout the network. So if your network needs an upgrade and you say, I want to need the 5 gigahertz model and all I have is 2.4s, you can keep your existing 2.4s, add them, and they can all work together. It will also tell you which clients are on these devices. Also breaks down statistics. Now, all this only has to be going when the software is running. If you turn off the software, you lose the ability to gather up some of the statistics, but the machine keeps working. The device keeps working without losing it. It still authenticates and still works. This is only needed for some of the advanced insights and features on here. It also has the ability to block individual and gives you up and down status to tell you what type of usage each of these are seeing. The also nice thing is they've included live chat support. So if you want to contact support, you don't have to go outside of this. They actually integrated their support right into the UniFi software. I thought this was a pretty clever thing to be able to have your support questions answered while you're in the software with them. Now, settings is where you're going to set the settings for all your wireless and create multiple Wi-Fi networks. I have 2 of them right here created. You can edit the networks, view the passwords for them, or create new wireless network. We'll call this one test. Give it WPA personal. Test key 123. Has some advanced options, so WPA, what type of encryption, WPA, group policies if you have them, VLANs, make it a hidden SID. You also have some scheduling options here. Now, the scheduling options are kind of neat because it sets the time on the unit and you can close the software and it will still schedule. That's pretty cool. It by default has your network in there. You can edit this and create multiple levels of networks, so you can actually route multiple networks across this. You can create access control restrictions based on network. You can create multiple users and admins on there and create groups. Now, like I said, here's some of the other features for the VoIP feature. If you're using some of their VoIP phones, we don't have any of those. You also have cloud access for the controller. You can have the controller sitting outside and have it set up to go in and be controlled from outside the domain. That's part of what the cloud access is on there. And you can also download, backup, and restore. So once you have a bunch of devices set up and adopted into the system, you don't want to lose them or you'd have to reset them all up because you can't just open the software. You have to have the admin and password configured, and then you have to go through an adoption if they weren't already adopted into this system. So as it discovers them, they show up on a list, you adopt them in, or you can choose over here where it says forget this AP, and you can do that. And for each individual access point, you can look at them. It'll break down what users are on each individual one, and then you can force a reconnection of that user or restart or just block that particular user. It's pretty cool. They give you a lot of features in here in the software interface. Now, let's jump into, instead of running it on software, if you're just configuring this at home, maybe you just want to do it from your phone. You can do that too. So when you want to run it from your phone, you go and load the UniFi Controller software. You can actually have this act as the controller, so it interfaces with the controller software. So if you're a sysadmin and you want this to interact on your network without having to go to a web browser, you can actually control all the settings and features from your phone. But you would choose instead, if you're setting this up for the first time, I don't have a controller. And then there's a QR code on the back of the UniFi. You simply scan the QR code on the UniFi, make sure it's powered on, and once you scan it, it connects and sets up the UniFi. Once you set this up, it actually has the ability, if the UniFi is online, to push a updated firmware. So you can do a firmware upgrade on this from your phone. You choose the username and password. This is not the Wi-Fi again. This is the username and password. It's going to be associated with this account. So you put in admin or whatever you want for the username and choose a password. And then from there, you're going to configure what the Wi-Fi name is. You can create multiple Wi-Fis on this. You can control some of the channel options, SSID, what you want the security to be, open or WPA personal. Settings apply. The enterprise features are not in here for these. So if you're setting it up from your phone for your home, some of the enterprise authentication features are not available. I had no problems at all. It's a real clever little program that lets you scan the QR code, have it up and running at someone's home in a minute. I mean, these can be bought for less than $100 as of right now, and they make a great home access point. So if you're tired of your crappy Wi-Fi at home, you can pick one of these up, turn off the Wi-Fi in your home router, or if you're using Comcast or one of the other major cable providers, they often integrate a crappy Wi-Fi into their system. So by swapping over to this, you can turn off their Wi-Fi or leave it on and use this and have much better, higher quality access. And if you need to go in there and update it, you can. You can, once again, even once it's set up, still update the firmware, which is pretty cool. So it has the locate and restart buttons on there in case you have multiple in your house. It will configure multiple Wi-Fi access points. So that's it. Hopefully it gives you a better idea of the UniFi software. I'm really happy with them as a product. There's been, just about a couple years we've been using them now, and we haven't had any product failures, and I've been really impressed with their performance. If you have any questions, leave the comments below. Thank you.